Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. Cross the line in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's going on, my Impact fam? Welcome to episode 93 of the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. Holy shit, 93 already. And boy, do we have a good one for you. I say that all the time, but that's my Steve Harvey, but I really mean it. We have a really jam-packed episode, so I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming. Welcome back. Numbers are what they are, as we always say, one friend at a time, one fan at a time, or vice versa. It works both ways. But you could see in the left-hand there side, we got a little bit of a schedule. Just to keep you guys, we don't do the timestamps. We like to keep people who can have a big attention span. But if not, here's the times you guys can check in on us, and that's where we're going to try to keep it, so you know where we're doing. Because a lot of new segments, a lot of new added things, including the very much anticipated return of Max, which will happen the last 25 minutes of the show or so at the Impact Zone. So it's the debut of that. Some really cool stuff there. Some good hot topics, including Sasha, Naomi, Michael Elgin even, Impact on Access TV review, as well as your Twitter poll results, power rankings, and then YouTube comments. So we will get right into that. Of course, I got to plug all of our stuff. You know our schedule. So Sunday's here, and then right thereafter, Sunday nights, we post the YouTube version. So no matter how you're watching us, if it's live on Twitch, thank you, by the way, we're at 94, keeping pace. Or if it's on YouTube right thereafter, or 10 days later. If you're watching on Mondays for GoGoPowerRankings, if you're watching Tuesdays for this season, the season finale is this Tuesday for Steiner Math edition of LOL TNAIW with Lucha, myself, and Johnny. It is Steiner Math like you've never seen before. So there's that. So go check that out. It's the season finale, and we'll return for another 10 episodes a little bit later in the year. And then, of course, on Thursdays, every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. BST, you got the Talking Bloody Nonsense guys who are just killing it. You've seen the clips out there, man. Definitely much better position than Max and I were at episode 22, but that's where they're at, and they're killing it. Go check them out. And Craig, Mr. Impact Craig, has his own TBN chats that just came out with the picture that just popped up, Mr. Simon Hill. So really good listen, really cool dude. Go check that out. But let's get right into it. Let's get right into Power Ranking. Oh, no, YouTube. YouTube comments. It's been a day. Jesus. Oh, man. All right, YouTube comments, guys. So I'm going to start picking our top 4. Luckily, that's what we had this week. As I always say, it takes a lot of you-know-what to load up your opinions onto anywhere on social media, and with the heavy chance of someone, shitting on it, to be honest. But we love all opinions. We take all opinions. Yes, I'll challenge them. Yes, I'll ask you to think of a different way. But it's all love and lifeblood. One of the lifebloods of the show, definitely YouTube comments, as well as the Twitch chats. Hopefully that starts filling in, but we'll see. All right. Either way, we have a lot of shows. So, all right, let's get right into this. Let me hide the schedule because I'm an idiot. All right, comment one is from our friend Darker Sides 22. He reads, Masha finally gets to face a knockout, but I don't think it should be Havoc, especially since Havoc is already going to face the Influence again. Why not just have Masha versus Alicia? Maybe it could lead to Masha versus Shaw match. Yeah. This is one of those things that, thank you for that. I think there's no wrong way to look at that. Either way, it works for me. I understand the Havoc thing, but the Influence did challenge Decay to go do something to prove they deserve another title shot. So taking on an undefeated Masha in Havoc's eyes, I could see where that leads to a one-on-one match there. Also, I like the intertwining of things. Not one person having one feud, but I get where you're going with Shaw and stuff. But I think Shaw will be somewhere else in the card. You'll see that later. I like the pairing here, by the way, with Havoc, because Masha has this cocky and I'm better than the competition, I'll beat him, destroy him, boom, 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 kind of a pit bull-like attitude. Well, Havoc is just overall just a giant comparison. which I really love the difference of every knockout in this division, man. It's so dope. But either way, I think we're going to get a good match. Either way, I think it leads to what we all want, which is Masha taking that next step. And I like the build here. I like the build. All right, let's keep going. Fade to Blend 20. As far as Slammiversary, I think they have enough on the card to make up for the lack of, I guess, star power in the main event. That's fair. I have watched Impact since 2004. And as good as EY is, I'd rather see somebody else, but currently EY is that dude in the match, so it is what it is. Fair point, completely. We don't have that TNA legend on the roster that when I say, oh, well, it's Slammiversary, that just is, well, to you or to the, and not to you specifically, Fade to Blend, but in general. Who do we have that really makes that buzz that was a TNA original? I mean, AJ is not walking out. Samoa Joe's not walking out. So Kurt Angle isn't going to have a match, to best of my knowledge. So, I thought Eric Young is a great part of the history to where, in the video package we'll talk about later, I think really summed it up. But fair point. I think that's a fair point. All right. But I also think that from top to bottom, like you said, I think that's a great point, which is Curse 33. Hey, what's up, Gary? New name? Yeah, I get what you're saying. Next up, Darker Sides 22 again. The Forbidden Door signed all those big free agents, yet their viewership is not as good as last year's, which is not a good thing, especially with Discovery in charge of TBS. Here's what I'll say. We'll talk about them quite a bit during the show, unfortunately, but it comes into the DAZN thing we're doing, Impact Zone, as well as we gotta. Well, we'll explain it in a little bit. I'll explain it in a little bit. But I wish them nothing but the best. I've pondered around AEW. I've looked. I've seen when I had to study. I've watched things that were relevant, but not my bag. But if I had more time in life, I probably would watch it. Doesn't mean I'd be an uber fan as I am with Impact, but pro wrestling. I wish them the best. At the same time, I think AEW will be around as long as Tony wants it to be around. He has the money to make sure that happens. It's just a matter of if to Tony being on TNT or TBS is important as being alive as a company. They have a great fan base, a rabid fan base to some points, to some degrees. But, look, I think when you spend the first, the top 12 talent in your company or whatever it is, and you spend your $45 million that you get from the station, I don't think the station is really as important as we would make it seem, or some of us would hope. So, yeah, either way, it's all on him. More with him later. Metal Easy 25. Let's see. I will say that when X Division talents face bigger wrestlers, it does look a bit awkward. I mean, Ace and Bay are basically the same size as Rosemary, so it does look funny that they're as heels trying to be all tough against much bigger faces. Well, I look at it a different way. I challenge you to look at it a couple ways. One, same with Tasha Steelz. You sometimes need that champion or that smaller, because they will grow into it for the most part. You need that person that's the antagonist, right, as a heel. Poke you in the nose, kind of keep tapping you until you whatever. I like that for Ace and stuff, if that's who we're referring to. Yes, Ace and Bay. And I think they'll be fine for whatever they do. Do I get the size difference thing? Sure. To make it believable? Sure. Same time, PCO was just resurrected. Rosemary's from the Undead Realm. Size doesn't really matter to me. It's the story you tell in the ring. And now if the aesthetic is too, if it's a, no offense, but if it's a Marco stunt compared to a Moose, then we'll talk. But with the skill level, the growth, I think they're both growing in size that Bay and Ace have. I don't think we're necessarily in a bad spot. All right, guys. So as always, if you got any more for me, make sure you right here on YouTube comments. I'll answer everything. The only rule is 2 things. 1, come correct, which great, guys. I love that everyone is in the spirit. Hey, Io, what's going on, buddy? And 2, watch the whole show. Not because I'm some egotistical maniac, but because if I answer your question throughout the show, I'm not going to go back and answer it again. That's all. But as always, love you guys. Thank you for that. Keep it going. All right. So I have another segment to bring up to you guys. We're doing well on time. I'm trying to get us in pace, try to get the new groove, so bear with me. I love you guys. Appreciate that. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, all that jazz. But we have a new couple things I want to do. And speaking of rules, as far as wrestling rules, we have a new segment. Short, sweet. I'll add some as we go. New wrestling orders. New wrestling orders. This is the edict of what we preach here on the TNAIW channel when it comes to a fan. Yes, number one is true fans. There's no such thing as true fans. We are all fans, no matter if you critique the product, you don't critique the product, or you watch it every other week. A fan is a fan, and respect you and respect each other as so. 2, phones down. If you are at a show, I promise you, putting it down to talk to the people around you, know them or not, to start chants with people if you know them or not, to feel that energy with people you don't know or not, is fucking worth it. It's worth it. The mini amount of likes, not I would say many, maybe thousands of likes and hearts and loves and retweets, all that you get, that instant gratification from a phone that you're recording the whole match while you're there, is not worth, I'm telling you from experience, is not worth the tons and tons of memories and moments that will last a lifetime just by telling it. Because if you're that guy that says, hey, look, 3 years ago I was at a show, I don't give a shit. We can talk about it, but I don't need to see your video. All right. And then new rule 3, you are a consumer. I am a consumer. If you go to the shows, you pay for the shows, you buy the merch, you do all that stuff, you are not owed a job. Right? Okay? You don't work for the company. I don't work for the company. Probably never will. But I love the company nonetheless. Okay? So we can all love, but love works one way, which is unconditionally. If you're doing it just to get something in return, no respect. No respect. All right. It's coming for everybody, right? All right, guys. So those are the new wrestling orders. Is there anything else you want to see change in the world of wrestling when it comes to fandom? Let me know. I'll put it on there. And we'll see who stops watching us. Once again, we don't do this for the likes, subscribe, follows. It's about building community, positive, critical. It's unbiased, it's transparent, all that stuff. But it is pro wrestling, and it is about inclusion, not exclusion. So there's that. Just yanked my damn thing out of my head. It's instant karma. All right, let's get rid of those. Boom. Let's get rid of the rules. All right, guys. Karma. Awesome Kong. Let's get right into, let's get into power rankings, guys. Let's get into power rankings. A few things I'm looking for. Let's see what, it blocked it for the UK. What? All right, let's get into power rankings.
Number 10, Jordan Grace. Number 9, Sami Callihan. Number 8, World Champion Tasha Steelz. Number 7, Speedball Mike Bailey. And number 6, Bullet Club. Number 5, the HBAC Mia Yim. Number 4, Eric Young and BBD. Number 3, X Division Champion Ace Austin. Number 2, Tag Team Champions The Briscoes. Number 1, World Champion Josh Alexander.
All right, guys, what do you think? Power rankings, I pretty much agree. There's a few things that I think I would have loved to see. Who do I got on here? I think Taya was a close one, not for myself, but as far as the honorable mentions. Masha making her way up. I can see why maybe she wasn't on there, but she needs to make it. Jordan's first appearance. I see Io talking about it there. And Gary as well. Jordan Grace, the Eric Young of the Knockouts division. It's very true. I saw you tweet that right before I went out, Gary. And I believe it, man, because everything they give her, this girl, she knocks out of the park. And she's believable in multiple different ways. She's a star. They give her time to go do whatever, and it's paying off because she looks phenomenal as well. This is her first appearance in 14 weeks of doing this. First appearance, and that's a shame. But I'm glad she's back on TV, right where she belongs. And then Honor No More. This is their first week off in quite a bit, man. You know, that group, we could say about Good Brothers picking up the wins or whatever. but that group always still looks. I know you guys. There's some people who say they don't get them or whatever it may be. I just I think if when they inevitably break up and hopefully they stay here in Impact, you have, multiple multi-tool players, which I'll talk. Well, Max and I will get to at the end of the show. So just kind of see where we're headed at and why I think certain people might be bigger gets or more valuable than a lot of you think. I know we have a lot of discrepancy on that, so it'll be cool to watch. But shout out to Jordan, who made the list for the first time in 14 weeks. All right, guys. So that's the power rankings. You obviously catch the extended power rankings, about 6 to 8 minutes. It's every Monday. It's a quick, easy watch. It's Bert and Datila, a great show where it has a bunch of different stats, including on percentage, appearances, and position ranks. And dude, go check it out. 6 minutes of your life. But let's get into it. And that's every Monday. Every Monday. All right. So next up is Impact on Access TV. Guys, I thought this was a really good show, good to great episode. It's hard to knock a lot of this stuff, and we'll get to some stuff that I thought was a little wonky. But, consistency, continuity, and continuously building. And that's I already mentioned the Havoc and Masha thing. I don't care of people intertwining in different segments or different feuds because it just shows the depth in which this writing team has. I'll leave it at that. All right, first up was BTI, which what I always say, Josh and Gia, kill it together. If you're not a continuous week after week after week watcher of Impact, and even if you are, you definitely got to watch the match that's on there, always featured. This week being Zicky versus Decay versus Crazy Steve. We'll get to that, but yeah, man, Josh has found exactly what he needs to do for the rest of his life, man. He's damn good at it, and you got to start giving Josh love. That's going to be another thing I might have to talk about next week because. Yeah, I saw a lot of Borash versus Josh. I don't know why that was a topic, but I saw a little bit of that and back and forth. I want to make as a day one Impact guy, TNA, whatever. There's a point I want to make about Josh and how valuable this dude and what he has done, like him or not, in the commentator role for this company that can't be measured. Gia also killing it as always. Like I said, the next, you're looking as much for the interviewer's reaction of what she's asking to what she's asking as much as I'm looking to her face for the reaction of the reaction, which is best compliment I could give her as an interviewer. Iceman Intel, sky's blue, grass is green. So next up was the match you guys mentioned there that you thought was a good match. Zicky with Swinger, which, is there a better entrance right now? So silly. Versus Crazy Steve with the full Decay, which makes me so happy, man, because we talked about a Crazy Steve's contract shortly running up, or was. Black Taurus, we didn't know if he was injured or he was taking a step back. Once again, that's what we get for jumping to conclusions, because here they all are in full force, killing it. What an aesthetic, man. What an aesthetic. We'll get to where Impact's spending the money at Hot Topics a little bit. They're not spending it at Hot Topics. Maybe Decay is, but but just the look of these wrestlers coming out. Hey, Lucha in the house. What's up, buddy? Not only the look of everyone and the cohesiveness, just Decay is a commodity. And the fact that they're still there, they're easily recognizable. It's dope to have them still around. The other thing I want to say about this, before we spend way too much time on the one match of BTI, I will cheer. And Max, who else can it? Johnny, my friend James, whoever was with me when the Bromans finally won the tag team titles. Originally, when they formed against our every wish. And when they won, we popped. We were so happy. And maybe it was the time of Impact or TNA where we were at that moment. But it was one of those things where it's like, good for them, man. They worked hard. They bust their ass. They put it together. They worked hard on it. And good for them. And I'm hoping that's what we get, that little bit, even if it's a couple week payoff of Swinger and Dice winning the tag team championships at some point. It's got to happen. But then we move on to Impact. Crowd here. Let me know if you were there. What's going on? Is this the Mother's Day one? I'm not sure, but a little rough a little rough. The stage looked great. Production looked pretty good, except for one thing I'll mention. But all right, that took a lot. Loyal Hiveling 44. What's going on, buddy? So besides for that, I mean, these dudes from top to bottom got everything they could out of this crowd, and I thought they did a good job, man. First, we started off with an Ultimate X qualifier, Laredo Kid versus Speedball Mike Bailey. You know, Laredo Kid putting it together. I know he's talented, all that stuff. Obviously, it's hard to give to someone who also has other commitments elsewhere. And we have a pretty stacked X division. But Speedball Mike Bailey picks up the win here, advances to the Ultimate X at Slammiversary. So now it's Kenny King, Ace Austin, and Mike Bailey solidified the 3. There should be 2 more if I'm not mistaken. A little bit of a wonky finish here. I like that they kept it. Really dope. Next up was a promo from Ace Austin in Japan, which was, once again, continuity, perfect timing, keeping the pace of the show. All makes sense. Make it make sense. It's a big thing for me, and it does. Ace Austin next talking about who's advancing to the Ultimate X. Speaking of the devil, doesn't matter to him because he's still going to take it. It's showing him as a star and BOSJ. I talked to Max about this, and I don't even know if it will make the show, but I'll say it again, so apologize if I'm redundant here. But there's only so much for Ace Austin could do in Impact to fulfill what I believe is his prophecy, which is he is the greatest prospect we've had since AJ Styles. What's going on, Millar? I've said that since day one. I don't need a treat for it. My reward, once again, my treat for it is Ace becoming the best prospect since AJ Styles. And if he sticks with us, which he just resigned, and he does things like this where he goes to New Japan for the BOSJ, 2-1 by the way right now, I think he could fulfill that. And I think August will be a time where he can, if he doesn't lose it here, where he cashes in and we move on to Destination X. Does he win? Don't know. But if he did, with all that momentum, would I be upset? Especially if he cashes it in? No. All right. Next up is that Slammiversary promo. Dope. Always gets me in the feels with the Barry Scott at the end. Love you, Barry. All right. Cardona and Chelsea on their honeymoon in some jacuzzi or something on the water, man. Yes. Excuse me, not to jump back and forth, but I saw who's that aisle. Japanese fans love Ace. It's not only that's doing it for Ace. So you got a whole nother a group of fandom that's watching Ace. It's the wrestlers getting to work with him as well, and then the wrestlers that are giving him props on Twitter that normally wouldn't, maybe not necessarily because it's Ace or it's Impact, just because why would you go out of your way to, right? So pretty cool that they're doing that, man, and they're handling himself. In his look, if you look back from day one to now, in his promo work, his character work, even his movements, all very planned out, all very smart. Everything makes sense, dude. I can't not talk much better about this guy. Cardona and Chelsea, though, they're living it up. They're talking about the DMC title, which is wonderful. Once again, legacy needs to be built here. So Cardona holding it and acting as the world title is just fine by me. Continuing the Raywalt and Rich thing, which will lead to, or continuing the Rich Swann and Cardona feud for the DMC title, or which we hope will be, which I think is the perfect person to go for that next. Have a work rate holder of that belt. And then you had Raywalt still playing on commentary. I cannot talk enough because we're about to go into the knockouts match. So this kind of rolls in a little bit. Speaking of the knockouts. This commentating team, I keep saying it, I know, broken record. But the way in which they put over the history of this company or make every little match or stipulation or belt or feud seem important is just, I mean, they do so much with so few, they do so much with so little words. It's impressive, man. It really is. And part of that I was going to say, and goes back to, and I can't remember, I apologize, whoever question was about Masha or comment was about Masha. If we didn't know why Havoc went out there and accepted the challenge, they spun two ways. In the matter of 15 seconds, Tom says, one, Decay was challenged to go prove themselves so they could get another chance at influence. Boom, there's one. Two is Masha's been saying she's looking for heavier competition, steeper competition. There you go. We wanted to know that because there was no backstage segments to show us that. There were no promos from Masha showing us that. But just those little words with Tom, if you're listening and watching, it just beautiful laying the groundwork, right? I don't know what other word it is. All right, next up is that six-way we're talking about, Deanna, Savannah, and Tasha. Love that Chelsea mentioned that that Taya's holding it down for her in one way or fashion, or Savannah is, while she's gone. I love that. Once again, it's continuity. Versus Jordan, Taya, and Mia. Mia, Jordan, and Taya picking up the win here. What can you say about this division that it hasn't already been said? It just is. It's good. It's good. And, if these are, like I said, if they had no one else, if we're not talking Masha and Havoc, we're not talking the Influence, we're not talking the tag division, you're talking about these 6 women, and then the one that was in the jacuzzi waiting to be part of these 6. I mean, come on. Yeah. Next up was Locker Room Talk, Speak of the Devil. I found this segment entertaining, as I always do. I'm a sucker for them. They're usually pretty decently executed and written. I think as much props as I want to give everybody for the production at the beginning of the show, throughout the show, inside the ring, inside the arena, these backstage ones, especially with these locker room talks, gotta up it. If that's the sound, if that's the lighting, they have to make a decision if they're shooting a show that the Influence are paying for themselves, or are we watching a show that they've gotten because of who they are on Impact? And we got to figure that out because the production value isn't matching up to that. Thought that was all good. I also love that it continued all feuds. Could there be a 4-4 coming down the line? You have the all 4 of Decay, who also faced Zicky and faced off, I guess, against Swinger as well in the BTI. Now you have all 4, the Influence, Swinger, and Dice. You have all of Decay. Is that something we see down the line? Who knows? Next up, Saban's back there with Gia, and we get the announcement that a lot of us were waiting for. Battle of the Futures. It is going to be Chris Sabin, and then agreeing to the match is the future Frankie Kazarian next week on Impact. Holy, you know what. Great shit there. Next, we get a flashback that makes sense. They play it right after, and it's them wrestling back in the old asylum. Pretty cool. Next up was that EY promo. Great package, man. Great run-through of things that we always say with Eric Young. Broken record, but this dude, you put a turd in front of him, he will paint that turd until someone will buy it. Okay, the chicken salad, chicken shit. There's so many things you could say about this dude that video package did and executed so beautifully in such a little time. So dug that as well. Great thing there to put him over. Josh is now with Gia talking about being champion. Next is OGK versus Good Brothers. Good Brothers picking up the one, as I already mentioned here. Once again, I love that they showcase each group before they come out. It makes not only shows our depth, it shows each group's depth, and that it's a real, everyone's there to rep each other, right? Really dig that. Cool aesthetics. And these dudes, man, if Mike, and I love the reference that they made on there, if Mike and Maria go back to Miracle and Taven goes into the DMC or above, and you got Eddie doing his thing again, and you got PCO already doing his thing, Vincent in something, Kenny King, this group is deep. And if they stay together or not, the amount of overlooking people are doing on the crop of talent that we have brought in, saying we haven't brought enough in, I don't know what to tell you, kids. Don't know what to tell you. But Good Brothers picked up the win here. Next up was a Sammy promo. Speaking of production, looks like I fucking directed it. Holy Lord. Speaking of that, we'll see something in a little bit like that. And then after that was Masha Slamovich versus victim number 11. She makes quick work of her. We already mentioned Havoc comes out. Commentating hits the note. They do the stare off. I'm looking forward to it. After that's a new Slammiversary promo. Interesting faces being shown. Max and I'll ask Max at the end of the show, but who do you guys think? I think there's a good chance, that they announce who the next Hall of Fame inductee will be. That's Slammiversary, right? Always a good chance of that. We'll see what Max thinks at the end of the show, but I know who I think, especially based off that promo, or the backstage promo thing, the Slammiversary promo. Next up, our dudes, Raj and Shira, are talking shit about Gujar, and why not, right? And then he comes in, and he's, oh, don't make fun of me, whatever. Then Morrissey comes in, And a lot of us could have looked past it and said Gauntlet for the Gold was just an interaction, but I really love how they took something planted the seeds in Gauntlet for the Gold, and then it comes to fruition here, right? Raj and Shira is looking versus Gujar and Morrissey. From day one, I've said this, and I continue to say this. I love when we break stereotypes in wrestling. This isn't some kind of mission. This is just fact. I think if you see the same thing over and over, you start typecasting it over and over. I like when people aren't just Indian guy, right? With Gujar, I'm okay with it because they talked about the heritage, kickboxing, all that stuff. They introduced him in a different way instead of just saying, this guy's from Desi or whatever. So I like that point. Boom. I like that Raj and Shira together. I think it's great. Morrissey coming in, not sparks a red flag. It could just be anything for me. Or sparks a whatever for me. But the idea would be, as much as I like that they had spent time apart, they just didn't become friends because they're all Indian heritage. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if Gujar turns here and they form a group and beat the shit out of Morrissey? Morrissey's best when he's attacked by multiple. Just saying. I think that'd be cool. And then, let's see. Next up was the main event. We have Doring and Diener getting the chance here in revenge against the Briscoes, who are tag team champions and rocking that. Love the Briscoes. Making to number 2. I voted them number 1, to be honest, but I love what they're doing. And once again, these are people we bring in here that already have a following, already have an established fan base, and then expand upon it. I really hope they stick around. We'll see what happens. But they pick up the win here. Eric Young obviously attacking afterwards, and Josh coming in to make the save. 1, I liked that it ended that way. 2, I liked how they booked it where Eric made a strategic decision and it didn't work out. If we're talking kayfabe here, right? Eric Young chose for the rematch for the tag team titles to be Doring and Diener instead of himself and Diener. Okay, the Freebird rules exist. Maybe he wanted to rest up. Whatever it is, it's all a story. So did he make a tactical error? Did he show his hand? Could they have won the tag team championships and then he still focused on the World Heavyweight Championship? I like that because Eric Young is one of those people that is portrayed as a mastermind. And for all intents and purposes in real life, I mean, he is a wrestling genius in my eyes. But does this show a crack in the foundation of VBD? Not in the sense of the group imploding, but maybe not as cohesive, giving Josh the chance there. I once again, I'm going to say this again. I don't want to put too much on it, but I think we get our first 5-star since the three-way at Unbreakable. Josh and Eric Young, there's too much talent in that ring and too much talent up there for it not to happen. So I like that. And I love that they point out Doring is undefeated in singles. I hope that doesn't mean he's going for the title, but, I digress. So I thought it was a great show, but more importantly, what did you guys think of it? Let's see here. Make sure you guys get your vote. We didn't obviously have that many, but we'll take it because you guys rated Impact 86% said great, 14% said good, and then nothing for decent or meh. It actually said needs work, but I put meh because, aesthetics. But do you guys agree? 86% said great. I agree. I think it was between good and great, and that's what it looks like you guys thought as well. But make sure you get that out. If you comment on it, we'll make sure to shout you out that you voted, and we do that every show. All right. Let's move on to the next thing because we're getting to some fun. Oh, gotta get used to this. There we go. All right, let's get into hot topics. Hot topics. So first up, let's get into what everyone's talking about. Let's get into Sasha and Naomi. So Max and I are going to dissect this a little bit more and what kind of free agents they would be if this is legit. Here's my initial reaction to it, and then I'll tell you how it plays out for Impact. For me, I think it comes down to a few things of where they choose to go if they are free agents. Right? AEW is a bigger name, right? Do you want that stage? Do you want to prove something? Do you want the money? 2 reasons to go to AEW. The reason you don't go to AEW is the reason you should come to Impact, which is, creatively speaking, which if that's the reason you left, you can build something special either in the starting out in the tag team division or in singles. These are stars. These are people that would move right to the top of the card, work with amazing other knockouts, and can start in one place and end in a different place. I just think creatively speaking, it makes sense. Now, money-wise and all that, we'll talk about that a little bit later. As far as the whole thing, Vince putting out that letter that they were whatever about them after they left on WWE.com, official statement that looks like it was written in crayon, to them on commentary burying them. Yes, they took them off the intro. Yes, they took them off the shop, WWE shop. But all that takes is a click. It takes a click. It takes a click to do everything I just said. Okay. What doesn't take a click is getting people in WWE to care about those tag team titles. Okay. So play along with me here for a second. If you take two women who you put in a tag team to make those belts relevant, and you say, well, your contracts are running up. We're talking about it. What do you want? What do you expect? And they say X, Y, and Z. If making those tag titles more important is one of those, how could you start? Well, you make a big ruckus, right? You put out some stuff, make you guys look like the rebels, take a step out, take some breaks since you just signed a new contract extension, forfeit them, and now we have to build 4 new tag teams to build that roster, right? So now you're doing the legwork without the tag team champions having to do it. And then when you finally crown a new tag team champions, they could come. I think the story's there. I know a lot of people, the Mike Johnson, the world are all whatever about, oh, if it's a work, it's because afterwards they described it as work. I don't care who's right or who's wrong. At the end of the day, I think it's a work. With that being said, if it's not, these are 2 women you throw the bag at. Okay. I just think they add so much to the roster, so much to the name value, so much to the clout of Impact Wrestling that you at least got to make a couple hundred texts, if not 50 calls, So hopefully it works out, Max, and I'll make sure I ask Max about this as well, so we'll go in a little more depth. But I think, that's where I'm at with it. I don't think all these people saying they're burying them, they're doing this. One comment and saying, oh, they're unprofessional. I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day, look, I'll say this. I think in 2 years' time, Nick Khan, Vince McMahon, and Dwayne Johnson will execute a sale of WWE to Amazon. Okay? I think that's what happens. Stephanie just took her break. They're setting this up. Everything shows that they're setting it up to be the best financial, right? Oh, hello. There we go. So, if you're doing that, is the creative of a tag team champion going to hurt you so bad, upset you so bad that they might go somewhere else that you're going to, shoot yourself in the foot by putting out this negative? I don't think so. But hey, who am I, right? He's Vince McMahon. He knows better than I. Next up, the thing I want to talk about is Michael Elgin. You kind of see him in the corner there. But obviously, Michael Elgin is someone that, regardless of the situation, we've supported as a human being. I think a lot of people make mistakes. Who are we to judge? I know if we've all made them ourselves. Do I agree with what he's done in the past? No. Do I agree with a lot of stuff I've done in the past? No. Oh, Parkside. Yeah, you think it's a work as well. I think Slammiversary could be something that garners attention, but now that more is coming out, we'll see what happens with them. Sasha's going to Hollywood either way. That's her goal. But back to Elgin. Look, I think everyone deserves to make a living at what they do. No. See, here's the thing. I know a lot of F. Elgins. Oh, he sued Impact. Look, I don't work for Impact. You don't work for Impact. Yes, we're fans of it. It's not going to break the bank that he sued Impact. The point is that he has a dream, okay? A career dream, just like anyone else has. You make a mistake in the past, and then it's taken away from you. And then a company tells you can't work anywhere else. Okay? It's not about being ungrateful. At a certain point, how long has this guy been off television? Not working in wrestling. While many others have come back and showed their face after doing much worse. Doesn't make it right. 2 wrongs don't make it right? 2 rights make an airplane. Dad jokes. But he returned to Pro Wrestling Noah, won the tag team titles there. I think it's a perfect opportunity for him to get back, foot back into the ring, prove himself as a human being, prove himself as a professional. Because look, at the end of the day, we can't say anything about his work. We probably can't even say anything about his personality because we don't know him. And if you're going off a few instances of stupidity in his youth, then I don't know who you are to judge. That goes for me, goes for anyone else. Once again, don't condone what he did. But when you grow up wanting to be something, and then you become it, and then you become good at it, and then it's taken away from you from stuff in the past that was stupid, I think everyone deserves the right to change and prove themselves. If he fucks up here, then we'll talk again. But as of now, we'll stay in our lane, let him do whatever he's doing. He's not going to win on that Impact thing. All I have to do is cut him, or whatever the deal is. I don't look past him wanting it to his release. But look, yeah, I think everyone deserves a chance to rebuild, and that's where I'll end it. He's not rebuilding with us. Hopefully he repatches that bridge. He's obviously tight with Don. I don't know about Scott, but I know that. He's tight with Don, so obviously doesn't work with us anymore, so I don't know where that bridge is, if it's burnt or not. Don't work there, don't know, don't read the sheets, but only so much. So it's going to be. It's going to be. Next up, the last thing of Hot Topics before we get into some really interesting stuff that we have for you guys is Impact spending money. I see a lot of people talking about, man, Impact's $1 billion company. We're not. The owners are billion. They're not. Okay. We live within the black. I'm not going to go too much into it. Max is probably going to hit on a lot of that in the next in the second 2 segments from now. But we deal with who we bring in. We're never, shooting our proverbial load to take a swing and potentially miss. We're very calculated. We make a lot of. See, here's more opinions. But I want to know if you guys say it in there, because I'll go back and read these. Tell me why you think he's an asshole, piece of shit. If it's the same couple things and we create the narrative, there's a lot of things. I won't get into that. We'll say that for another day. Let's stay in the positive here, because there is something I want to talk about with Impact management, not spending. So the stage is bigger, the arenas are getting bigger, the gear is looking good. I don't know if that's Impact demanding or giving money into it, but the production is looking better besides the aforementioned things I mentioned. But part of that is, and what you guys aren't, not you, not me, but in general, we aren't looking at, is last week we had a gauntlet for the gold. I know this sounds silly, and I know this sounds minute, but these are the little big things you have to look for. Are we keeping people around? Yes. Do we have some fluctuation in talent? Sure. Are we investing in the show, the day-to-day show? Stage looking good, production getting better, slowly but surely. Are we able to have a gauntlet for the gold on a television episode? I know that seems silly, but paying 20 dudes to be in one match and then still paying for another half of a show, it's not small change. And that's part of the thing, a reason why we're going to do the Impact Zone from now on, is just to show you guys another way to look at free agency, look at it from a business perspective, look at it from how we look into how we think or when someone should be signed or for how much. So we got a lot that coming up. But I want you guys to take a step back and just look at go back and watch something from 4 or 5 years ago and see where we are now. Be appreciative of where we're headed. And yes, it's growing slowly. There was a pandemic and a bunch of other things that have come away, and they've been digging us out of a hole since they've purchased the company. but it's been a damn good job. And the fact that we can have a number one contendership for our world title settled in a gauntlet for the gold is a step up from where we could barely get 3 working mics on a commentary booth at points. Okay, so I'm not saying that there isn't work to be done, but we're coming pretty far. All right. Now, before we get into the much anticipated DAimpact Zone with the return of Max, we got our hands on a little footage. Kayfabe, bro. Dark Side of the Ring is I think has come to an end. They're not going to come up with another season. But we got our hands on a little footage for another After Dark Side of the Ring, the Tony Khan and the Forbidden Door. So if you guys want to watch that, we could watch the 2.5 minute clip that we got our hands on. Once again, this is all love. We had a After Dark Side of the Ring, the Claire Lynch story right here on the TNAIW channel. A day later, MJF did his. It's a shame they don't use the equipment from the media company. Anthem bought Gravitas. Yeah, no, they bought Gravitas, as in they bought the company, sure, but Gravitas isn't a huge company. They just bought the company, but the portfolio in the movie library. But I understand where you're coming from. In time, that all takes time, and I think we'll see another drastic change after Slammiversary, but we'll see. Don't hold me to it. All right, but what I was saying was we got a thing of Dark Side of the Ring, a little sneak extra footage that might be more of an episode, but I'm gonna stop talking, let you watch it. Tell me what you think. In 2019, a group of innovative and highly talented professional wrestlers would utilize their independent success to secure a working relationship with American businessman Anthony Khan.
And it was unthinkable when it happened.
This partnership promised to be a revolution in professional wrestling. A company built on passion and fueled by originality. This was All Elite. The foundation was built. The money was ample. But Tony needed to dig down deep if he was to put out a perfect roster and product. After many sleepless nights, what was achieved would become a commercial and critical success. A group of seamless strangers, journeymen that had never crossed paths before.
There's Impact, which is great.
A rookie production team, and a group of the youngest and upcoming game changers in wrestling. But how did this come together so quickly? Khan seemed to have all the right answers. A Midas touch, if you will. The answer was much more complicated. The answer was something no one would believe. The match was lit. AEW was going to debut on TNT. He would be expected to bring more huge announcements, more talent acquisitions, more original content. But what would his next move be? The answer has always been the same. The answer was, and always will be, what was inside the Forbidden Door.
It's like the zombie WCW, the guys who was left over from WCW, the people, they went and started another wrestling company.
The zombie WCW, the pizza guys who was left over from WCW, some of the people, they went and started another wrestling company. And there's
No, Daddy, no! Oh man, looks like they need to work on their production as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed the footage we uncovered for you. We'll make sure we put it online in some form. I don't know if YouTube's the way to go. They're not our best friends right now, it seems. But Twitter might be the way to go. Tell me what you guys think. Did you like it? Should I air it? Let us know. But we found the footage. Maybe there'll be some more. Either way, we're going to tag them in it. Love you, Tony. All right, guys. So I just wanted to see your guys' opinion. of that footage we uncovered, and I'm going to send it right over to our newest segment. I promise next week we'll have a better transition, but we are going into the Impact Zone. All right, guys, enjoy the return of the Max. All right, guys, welcome to the first edition of The Impact Zone, our ending of every episode from now on, and most importantly, the return of the Max. What's going on? Let's do it the old way. Alongside me, again, is the Bray Wyatt to my Weston Blake. It's Max, everybody. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. I would actually prefer to be Weston Blake.
I know, and I would prefer to be Bray Wyatt, but I was just going based off the tie-in.
That's true.
To the top 25.
I mean, Weston Blake is half of the greatest tag team of all time.
Oh my god. I did plug you that recently. I plugged that for you recently. Speaking of that, it's been a while, but we have a lot to catch up on, and one of our most... the thing we love to do the most outside of this and within this was always talk depth charts and signings and possible signings and not understand why people wanted us to sign X, Y, or Z when we can only sign A, B, and C. So we'll talk about that. We got to explain how they work and how we rank them. You're probably looking at the top 25 saying, what the fuck? It's okay. They're ever changing. We'll ever change them. Let us know where we messed up. This is all opinion. It's not a matter of how they are. Once again, top 25 are all above average. Below average is still not us. We're talking about wrestling here, people. All right, but there's a lot to talk about, Max. The glaring one is one I've already talked about on the show. I want to get your opinion, of course. Sasha and Naomi suspended indefinitely. Is this a work? Is this real? I'll save my opinion. I already did it. But let me, not only is it that, what is it and what we make of it, but say it's legit. Where do these girls, these women... place on this top 25?
So originally when it first happened, I thought it was a work. I thought it was a way for them to kind of turn them heel, as they don't give a crap about the people and they only care about their belts and blah, blah, blah. The more that it goes on and the statements they're releasing and removing merch, I definitely think it's real.
Okay.
Wrestling's an interesting business. It's one of the businesses where how over you are directly impacts how much you make, and the company you work for has a lot of impact or a lot of control over how over you are. And if they don't want to pay you, they just tank your value, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, you don't sell any merch. Well, I have one t-shirt you released 2.5 years ago. It's not selling. No shit. So
yeah. Now, so with that being said, though, say they're 2 months, boom, free agents, no strings attached. They are what they are. This reputation, we'll put it aside because, once again, it's not a sport. You're not paid to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't play better. There's no stats. Where do they fall in this top 25? And is Impact somewhere that you would put at the top of their? I don't know. Wish list is the right term, but
yeah. So I mean, as a top 25, I think whether it's as a tag team or individually. I think they're top 2 or 3. Yeah. If they're tag team, they're 2. If they're individual, one's 2, one's 3. Just because they would be, from a women's wrestling standpoint, they would be the biggest free agents out there since AEW came along. In terms of where's best for them, depends what they want. If they want money and that's their only goal, AEW is the spot for them. Yeah. If they want to go to a place though where women's wrestling is a big focus of the show, because obviously that was one of the reports of the reason why they got so upset is because they weren't happy with how they were being presented. I think Impact's the better spot. I mean, Impact makes sure that their Knockouts division gets storylines, is on the show, that it's a primary focus. It's presented as equal with the men. And I don't think that's the case in AEW. So you never know. It's hard. Tony's going to back up the Brinks truck and start giving them shares of the Jaguars to come to AEW. But
right. And they deserve it.
Yeah, no, they're definitely worth every penny. They're worth the amount of money they'll make, but it depends what they want.
There you go. And that's what we'll get into a lot of here is not only separating the wish list from their wish list, from the fans' wish list, just kind of looking at it from a whole pie kind of perspective is what we're going to do on the show, compared to just, oh, we want them. Of course we want them. Do they want Impact? Does Impact have a chance? Do you throw the bank at them? Those are the things we're going to look into. But say they do. Say they choose Impact. Say Creative, they made their money. Creative is what they want. They want to make their Impact, so to speak, in a very stacked division, but not necessarily tag. That's the glaring one everyone says. Do they go straight to the line, top of the line, with the Knockouts tag if they come that route? And then, well, let you answer that, and then we'll move on to the next question.
I mean, I think if they come in as a tag team, I definitely think they're top of the charts. Yeah, they've got great characters, great name recognition. They're good in the ring. So I think they definitely would jump to the level there. If they come in as individuals, you probably debut them staggered. And it wouldn't surprise me if they come in one right after, whoever comes in first jumps to that top of that list.
See, that's the reason, and we'll move on from this, because I want to ask you where, if we put that aside, where's that next glaring hole for you in the divisions? Where do we need some more depth, and is that the route you would go? We'll get to that. But is it silly, since they left together, their contracts allegedly expired together, is it a missed opportunity if you stagger them in? That's one. And two, is it I don't want to be biased here, but is it a positive that Impact already has an established, for whatever way you guys want to say how deep it is or not? Once again, I think it's a 2-step forward, 3 steps back, because we gain somebody, we lose somebody, then we have to start building the foundation again. I think Decay and Influence are there already to start that foundation. But don't you want to go somewhere that has a tag division in place?
Yeah, I think it depends on what they want. I know they were kind of thrown together. I'm not sure if they were happy about that. But they then said, hey, we're together. We want to make our mark on the tag team division. So if they may realize, you know what, we're great together, like the Inspiration did. Let's do this. But they may say, you know what, we want to be individuals. And in that case, then I think you do stagger them, unless you just bring them in as a team to where
for a little bit.
Yeah, but then it's kind of like, who are you going to push? Who's going to be so?
I mean, I think that's a good problem to have if Impact were to come upon it. But putting the Knockouts tag division aside, and this is something I said in the episodes you weren't there for, the tag division to end that is always harped on. At the same time, there's nobody in here, myself included, that can name 4 established in the history of wrestling women's tag teams that have been names, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to take time to build this division, no matter which way you spin it, because there's no just people you can say, I want them. Yeah. They're going to have to build it from within. So the deeper the Knockouts division gets, eventually the deeper the Knockouts tag does. But as far as that goes, is that your next one? Obviously, Knockouts tag we talked about. Knockouts, I doubt, is on your radar.
I mean, I think a similar thing, like you said, if you build the Knockouts division, it can help build the tag division, because you have people who aren't doing anything. I think that's it. It's rough, because I think overall I like their divisions. I know a lot of people talk about the World Heavyweight, the title division, but I think maybe one person who can come in and maybe be a legit contender, not necessarily somebody like that guy's winning a title, but really like Moose, Callahan, Morrissey, like those 3 guys, Alexander, like that's a good group of 4 to have. And if you're not bouncing the title around, that's a really good group with occasional other guys splashed in for defenses.
I know I always make this comparison, but obviously in our heyday, Attitude Era is probably perceived as the highlight of professional wrestling at that time. And in that time, you had Taker, Rock, Austin,
Triple H.
Michaels, Triple H.
That's it.
Kane, Foley. You would randomly throw another guy in there that wasn't always there. So why do we need this toy box full of wrestlers? I mean, I get why we would want that. I do agree we need one more. Let's actually, let's do that first. Finish this first. Excuse me. You have Josh, you have Moose, you have Callahan. Morrissey, if he stays around, I think 100% is in that whatever. You have Eric Young, Eddie Edwards to keep it fresh, and always, veterans to bring back in. Who would be that person from this top 25 that you say, ideally, obviously we would both want Bray, but is there someone you could say, hey, that's a good value for that person? They can obviously swing right in there.
I mean, I think you look at someone like Cesaro, I think he's up there. If you're looking at people, Jonah, I think, is someone who was there. If you're looking further down the list, I like Dalton Castle. He was an ROH heavyweight champion. He's got a good character, so he's someone that you could come in and could be maybe not win the title, but be someone who could go in there from time to time and be it. I feel like those are the ones. Johnny Impact is there as well.
Why do you, for the people out there, I know why you do, but why are you naming or directing maybe that way instead of going with the Bray? And I'll bring up the thing you brought here.
Yeah, so a lot of people, when they talk about top 25, they're going to say you always go after the top prospects. But Impact isn't WWE. They aren't AEW. They don't have tens of $1 million to throw at people. So what you have to look at is when you're going after a potential free agent, you have to wonder, is this one guy and the cost for him, the Bray Wyatt, who is our number one free agent on the board, is he worth the money that he's going to cost? Or is it smarter to say we're going to take the money that we're going to give to him and we're going to split it among two people, maybe even three people? So in this case, I used Bray Wyatt, or two people that I think you could get for a comparable sum that is Bray Wyatt, is Dakota Kai, who's our number one ranked female, and Dalton Castle, who, as I already talked about, I think can come in, instantly goes into your DMC championship.
Yeah.
Has potential to set up a program for the title as a legit contender. And I know you scoffed at me when I said it, but he comes with the boys, which add in something to the tag division. So really, and you could even put the boys in that picture as well, because I'm sure they don't cost that much either. So technically, you could get a Dakota Kai who's probably going to jump to either the head of the line in the knockouts or right into a primary, right into a main feud with one of the top people.
Yeah.
And then a Dalton Castle who is going to get some buzz and is a great character, which Impact does so well with.
Yeah.
So there's more to looking at free agents than just saying, this isn't building fantasy football where you say, I want the 5 best guys out there. This is like building an actual basketball team where you look at your holes and you figure out, what can I get for what I have available?
Well, using the basketball analogy, that's, saying the top 5 free agents are all point guards.
Yeah.
I'd love to have Chris Paul, Ja Morant, all those people. But why they're redundant at a point.
Yeah.
And not doesn't make any even less better or less good. And that's what I want to make a mention as well. That's a great point. We talk about this off air a lot, and we try to, that was our favorite part of the show when we would talk about this on air. But when you look at it from this perspective, obviously 2 for 1, maybe more. I mean, we don't know what kind of money Bray is.
I'm sure it's
got
to be a ton.
Right. And same with Cesaro. We don't know that either, and we don't know theirs. And once again, you guys might disagree with the numbers here. Let us know. It's okay. This is ever changing, but the way we look at it is, and I think actually let's bring that up. Do you bring in someone, even a one-on-one, 1 for 1, say a giant for a giant? You've made the mention. This is obviously something you want to talk about. So why don't you lay it on?
So we talked about if all the best people are point guards.
Yeah.
Well, if you already have a good point guard, do you go hunting for a better one? Well, it depends. So in this case, we already have a giant, a monster in W. Morrissey, who Impact has clearly spent time building up his character. They've given him time on the mic to talk and developed him. Mm-hmm. Do you bring in someone like Braun Strowman, or his real name Adam Scherr, I think that's how you say it, who, although he is, if you look at the stats across the board, overall he is rated higher than what Morrissey would be if he were a free agent. But it's not a huge difference for someone that could potentially, because of his name value being higher, could potentially cost a lot more. And then if you bring him in, what do you do with Morrissey?
Right.
Like, and that's the thing you have to weigh is, hey, we've got holes on this roster that we think we can fill. If we have a guy that does X, do we go looking for an upgrade, or will we be happy with that guy and let's go look for somebody that can do Y because that's what we're missing? And obviously what we've broken down here, and we'll go into it a little bit more, is the card, character, mic, name, and ring work is how we ranked these guys. And
Yes.
Gio go into that. But
Yeah, do you want to go
but
more?
yeah, but it's just one of these things that people look at the name value and they always want the biggest guys.
That's the key.
But you have to understand, we're not WWE or AEW who's going to have a 500-man roster. We have limited spots. We got 2 hours of TV. Well, 3 hours if you count.
88 minutes?
88 minutes of TV.
Plus the one match on
Yeah,
BTI.
so
Yeah.
you've got to be smart with who you have. Don't just go after someone because they're a name. Figure out where they fit in and go from there.
Yeah, that's key. And once again, you guys could be looking at this and say, why is Braun Strowman, who is Braun Strowman, an 8 compared to a EC3 who's been here, done? I think there's a lot that plays into that. Obviously, once again, these ratings don't matter. This is just us trying to figure out a way to communicate what how we perceive them. And even when we do that, the averages aren't exactly where we do. So we finagle from there. So
different companies are going to value different things.
That's another thing.
So the WWE may put tons of value on how good you are on the mic. They could care less how good you are in the ring. But if you can talk, they want you. Other companies may say, I don't care if this guy can talk. I only care. So that's another thing where when you're looking at things, it's where do you put your value?
It's another variable that plays into what Impact needs or it has been doing, which is finding all around people that may not be developed per se in all 5 of those categories, or maybe is something that needs a rehabilitation of one of those things. In taking them in, finding the best and bringing the best out of that person, working with that person to paint their, what they perceive as their wrestling, character, I guess is how we want to word it. Persona. In Rocket. And that's what we've done with a lot of these people, including Morrissey. So I agree with you in that sense. And, more to what you're saying, I think Impact is looking for a well-rounded. Doesn't mean that they're perfect or excel in one thing. We will mold or help you mold to what you want to become. But that's why these 5 things matter, I think, to us, which is card status. Where does this person come in right away? Does Dalton Castle come in right away and it is a 5? Is he automatic? Give me the championship? No, it's not going to happen. But could he be a DMC or whoever, or Braun in this instance? We have his up a 4. He's an all-star, 2 perennial all-star. People know his name, even if they don't know wrestling, some of them. So then you go on to character. Where has this person been, or where are they now with what they in a character development stage? How much work do we have to put into them to get them to that next level? Also, how much do we have to put into them to even get them to a decent level? Yeah, so I think a lot plays.
Not everybody has to be a 5. Not everybody's going to be the Fiend.
No.
AJ Styles is not a 5 character.
Right.
But
and that's the thing, is that it's nothing against. These are nothing against. This is just, if you were to play a game, what are you looking for? You're not gonna, in a game, you're looking for big name, great wrestling. In real life, we're looking for card. We're looking for character. We're looking mic skills, and then ring skills, of course. Self-explanatory, and then name value, because at this point, having someone who has a giant social media reach but might not be as good of a character or a good of a card stat, however you want to swing it might be more valuable to Impact. And I think that's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, I think it's,
or find.
You have to look at, you have a limited amount of money and you really have to make the most out of that money, and sometimes I know I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's like sabermetrics in baseball.
Right.
Like getting the most bang for your buck, filling the most holes, and not just going after the biggest names.
Yeah. And that's what I want people to look at when they look at this top 25 and say, but Nia Jax is 12, what the hell? Well, one, let's take the bias out of it. Let's look at our actual work and then the circumstances. And then let's look at the name value. Let's look at the character development. There's other things that play into this that would benefit Impact that I think and trust their management to execute the best possible. So I think there's some names on there to surprise you. Once again, write us if you have some, and I know you will, some discrepancies in our choices. But real quick, I want to plug our shows as we say before we say goodbye, because I have one more question for Max. First up, coming up Monday, GoGoPowerRankings with Datila and Bert, followed by Tuesday's season finale of LOL TNA, myself, Johnny, and Lucha dive into Steiner Math, Tuesday, 4:20 Pacific time. It's Steiner Math like you've never seen before, I can guarantee that. Good? I don't know, but I digress. Talking Bloody Nonsense, Craig and Nixon, every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. BST. They're killing it, man. Already on episode 22. And then TBN Chats, Craig just had an awesome interview with Simon Hill, which is really cool, so check that out. Impact this Thursday continues the road to Slammiversary, 7 p.m. Eastern with BTI, and then continues on Impact on Access TV, headlined by the Battle of the Futures, Sabin versus Kazarian. Max, that's where I'm going to segue. Slammiversary's coming up. We're on the road to Slammiversary. We always generally announce our Hall of Fame inductee at Slammiversary for Bound for Glory. Just out there, who's your thought? Is this the year? Who do you think?
You know, I know we've talked about the hope that AJ comes back and does one final run in Impact, but I feel like he's getting older. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think his best shot is him being inducted and him showing up and being at Bound for Glory as AJ Styles going into the Hall of Fame. He deserves it.
He does.
So.
And my brain, we haven't been able to talk about it, but me, you, same page, man. I just think that he was shown quite a bit. I mean, you can't not show any history without having AJ in it for TNA, but those little videos they've been showing, the Good Brothers original mention of, yes, he'll come back for at least something. It's there. If it's not this year, maybe it's next. It's coming. But I'm hoping this is the year.
If he's going to be there, if he's going to be at Bound for Glory, if they announce him as going in Slammiversary and he's going to be at Bound for Glory, I'm damn well going to be at Bound for Glory.
All right, same. Well, hold us to that and hold Max to that.
With my old school AJ Styles shirt.
And your red AJ action figure?
Yep, my red AJ. And my red AJ action figure and the AJ Styles splooge t-shirt. I go in, you're like, man, that guy's a true fan right there. Or obsessed, one of the two.
Or obsessed, or has a problem, yeah. He's got the tattoos on his side.
I would never do that. That would be horrible.
Oh, guys. I'm glad to have you back, Max.
Glad to be back.
Let's say bye to the people. We'll see you next time. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you for episode 94. Holy shit.
Later, guys.